clan battle in full now complete, and if everybody can stop calling me or Skyping me or texting me on Facebook about the whole end result of this thing, I can kindly and accordingly go into everything that had happened here. I was originally set to have everything already finished and my synopsis almost written up with all the events that had happened, until the second piece of this thing with Team Deathmatch, which then complicated things a tad bit further. And by complicating things, it also complicated the general perspective of the clan battle, which I did not wish to happen. But it did happen, and so this is the unfortunate and messy end result that we are left with. And so if everyone can kindly be patient for all those out there, and if I can turn off all my equipment, which is what I've been doing now while I'm talking this, I can go over everything accordingly, from start to finish, uninterrupted, without others' inclusions. This has been a rather lengthy afternoon with a long series of events, and so I don't wish to get annoyed on top of that trying to write up all of this, and then we can move on and move into the future with what can go on from here. So, let us begin without further ado. And so before I get started here, I also need to go into detail on how the clan battle was originally set up from a couple of weeks back before today. Some time ago, we were set to originally have our initial encounter against ancient Cybertronian warriors here in their debut clan battle, as they had just managed to get everything in motion and all their members and key members were all on board and set to go for said date. But with the time that it happened at that time, on Saturday of a couple of weeks back, there was a number of IRL affairs that did happen between a lot of people involved, and so it led to one or two substitutions being in place. But at the same time of this, then we eventually had to postpone the general continuation of the clan battle and just restart it all over again, have everything in place from start to finish for another set point in time in the future, which would preferably be another weekend setting, since a weekend setting is very favorable of many people, and it's a very favorable time setting for a clan battle to transpire upon. That's no problem. That time slot, which was originally there for Ancient Cybertronian Warriors, that was postponed for said point today, that slot was instead taken by the clan battle against Furs from PlayStation 4. And so, instead of us battling A.C.W, we instead fought Furs. From there, everything was reinstated and applied to the launch of this clan battle pending for today. Now, due to the timing and setting up on Mayan's camp, the lot of people that I had on call for this originally were not able to attend this due to a number of reasons in real life that had happened or that were happening around this time. And so a weekend for a Saturday date, a Saturday rendezvous for this clan battle at 1 p.m. Eastern time, if I recollect correctly, was not able to happen because there wouldn't be any chance for them to be there or be back home by that time in order to participate in the clan battle. In addition to this, myself, with going to the grocery store and doing errands in real life, I would not be able to be back by 1 o'clock in order to hastily put everything together, and it would end up being very sloppily executed instead of just being preset to another day. The number of A.C.W players that were on at that time were all generally assembled, and so had strongly insinuated the fact of wanting to go on ahead and do the clan battle today rather than wait for the preceding day, which would have been Sunday, in order to go on ahead and do the clan battle, because Sunday is an unsure day in order to try and go into this for them. And since everybody on their team is here now, then at the time I was able to get back, and I told the people ahead of time, I told the leaders of A.C.W ahead of time, or the ones that were available at the time, that I will seek to try and make an honest effort to assemble the clan battle if I do get back at a decent time. If I can get back early enough, then yeah, we can still have the clan battle today. If I can't get back early enough, then we can try and shoot for either Sunday or just reschedule it again for next Saturday of the same time setting, or if everybody is willing or is available, it can be sometime during the week, also depending upon time and preference. The time I was able to get back in was around quarter to 2 o'clock, somewhere around 2 o'clock-ish. 4 o'clock was more or less the cutoff time before the lot of them had to get ready to head offline, or however that would work with the difference in time zones between United States time and UK time. I went on ahead and decided, since they wanted to try and do this now, and they did want to try and go on ahead and do this now, I made my best effort in order to try and round up whoever it is that is available at this particular time to see if we can set something up within the next 20 or 30 minutes in order to see if we can start into the clan battle. This was easier said than done because I had to wait for a lot to hear back from a lot of people, or just settle upon using a lot of players that I probably would not use in a completely aggressive situation, or I have to use in a lot of different means, and so I have to work outside of numerous different comfort zones in order to try and accommodate for the one specific setting that is about to happen. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting to hear back from anybody in tax camp that can make for this particular time or time placing, that's going to be now 2 o'clock or 2:30-ish time frame, I'm also trying to see if I can scavenge together some sort of half-assed idea or series of ideas for a game plan for how I want all the game modes to go, and for who's likely to show up and who did show up, who was able to show up, and how all this can accordingly play to each strength and weakness accordingly, and how they all can actually learn to communicate and work together, and hopefully not complain or talk about faults of what's going on or their own faults amidst trying to create pros. It's like I want there to be more pros than cons out of the match that is pending right now. And so they got their 4, I had my 4. Everybody here wanted to try to be brought up to speed on what's going to happen or how this is going to happen, which was done. Roles are given, the outline is given, so depending upon map choice, whether it's in our court or theirs, you have an idea of how you want to do what and when. Because there are times where not everybody knows what they want to pick in advance, but there are times where I do have to kind of give you an outline or give you an idea on what you can go as if you're not completely certain or confident in your own right. And that's fine sometimes. Now, with the 5th person arriving for them, they did wish to ensue a 5 versus 5, they did wish to go through with a 5 versus 5 clan battle, and so for this I did comply in order to upgrade into a 5 versus 5. Now, when they incorporated Stefan Lee 2010 into this clan battle originally, I was dubious about it at first, because when A.C.W was originally settling into establishing itself in its restoration project, Stefan Lee had constantly kept putting down this clan's efforts in being their own clan and trying to make an identity for themselves, or the new administration of A.C.W was trying to make a name for itself. And while you have a person that's constantly putting the group down and constantly cursing out the clan leaders and the entities in the clan to no end, and then all of a sudden this person, lock, stock, and barrel, becomes a member of the clan, I don't know exactly how or why that would comply, or how any of that would make any logical sense. And so when Commando and Fininja brought it to my attention that yes, he is an A.C.W, I did have to take a look and check game facts at that time, because they did just get done having a clan battle earlier today, or before the arrival of T.A.C.T. They had a clan battle against the UNK nation. And from the details I was reading in the long series of unusually needless vines from the community tagging onto that clan battle, Stefan Lee did join on to AOC today in order to play onto that clan battle, which then did subsequently lead to A.C.W defeating UNK in the clan battle as such. And I found that to be a rather interesting but very solid read, as I could assess a couple of pros and cons with how that clan battle could have likely gone, but it derives from the point. Now, there is an unusual flaw in the ruling system on this particular little detail here that does conveniently or unusually or has an unusual convenience of coming into play at odd times. And that's the whole 1 week rule of having a new member come into a clan and they're not supposed to participate or partake in a clan battle until after 1 week of settling into the group. That way it's actually solid that they're in the group and there's no harm, no foul at all that can come out of any of this. Now, even though the clan battle with said person, Stefan Lee, in this affair, did happen the same time in which that he's joining A.C.W., I honestly didn't really see it to be an issue at this time because we're trying to have a nice, friendly clan battle of sorts, and so, I mean, we do want to try and have it to be official to a good extent, but at the same time, we don't have to be overly anal about everything that's gonna happen in the clan battle. We got a pretty good idea about all the natural elements that are going to come into a clan battle, positively and or negatively speaking, and all of us are of a sound mind in understanding said pretenses that are going to go into this involving said person or persons. So, while those would challenge the fact that the clan battle should have probably waited a week until he was supposed to join, or until the whole joining process was solidified in full officially. Because this is an unusual gray area right now, I decided to go on ahead and just let it go through because it's no big deal. I mean, it's just supposed to be a nice friendly battle with friends in order to have the advent of a really good gaming clan come back into the fray. And in the process of it coming back into the fray, a whole new era of a team and players, a whole new era of players that are coming into the fray and coming out of the woodworks that are trying to do something for themselves, and there's no harm with that. And so the clan battle went ahead as it was supposed to. And so from that regard, in the 5 versus 5, we did start off into Capture the Flag, which was round 1. Here I originally had another host to start us off into this. That was not myself, but because not everybody could officially or respectfully connect onto the host, then we had to do another host change. And since everybody had voted to have my nat type or net type be the respective session host for round 1, since it was given to T.A.C.T in order to be the host, and it was A.c.W's map pick then. In order to help this along, I went on ahead and complied to said proposition of the whole groups, of both groups, and I went ahead and had the session in full for 5 captures, 20 minutes. And then from there we started on T.A.C.T's host. In that regard, communications and coordination was highly in their favor right out the gate, as the communications for ours had shifted back and forth at a lot of intervals, as both Shock Prime and Officer were trying to understand how to coordinate and work off of each other respectfully with their light class choices in order to successfully attain defense and offense, while you have the 1 or 2 people, which was at that time Cyzax and myself, pressing in order to make a flag capture. And the intensity and momentum for the capture the flag session went back and forth at numerous different intervals unknown. And yet somehow out of this, Shock Prime and Vortex, Grimwave the King, were able to successfully keep the defense going long enough for us to get the capture in and then tie the game back up. And then momentum shifted and they were able to make an honest effort to try to overpower us, which was then very quickly stopped. And then the flag capture then happened in our favor, which put the score at 2-1. The momentum then shifted again when one of the guy, I can't remember which one it is that dropped the ball, but had dropped it at a really bad time, right as one of our key defense people went down, thus allowing them to make the capture and retie the game back up right as we're reaching 3 or 2 minutes into the game closer for capture the flag. And so at that point forward, the push was real, was very, very real, in order to try and get get the flag capture back in our favor before time was running out. And so right as we were about to make the move, that move didn't happen because time ran out, and boop, tie game. And I tell you right now, the capture the flag session was easily a highlight of this entire clan battle right there, because it was so even. It was such an evenly fought and highly aggressive match between both participants. Okay, from here we move on into session 2, or round 2, which was the conquest mode. Conquest mode was originally to be hosted by them, with our map pit being Corrosion. However, the representatives of A.C.W. that were to host said game, not everybody on our team or the one person on their team was able to completely load in, and so another host was selected from their team, which also again led to the same result, with not everybody being able to fully connect. And so a new host was again pitched. For the host this time around, it came back to they wanted to go on ahead and just ask if T.A.C.T can go on ahead and host round 2 for conquest mode. And so T.A.C.T went on ahead and picked a representative in order to host said type or said session. Instead of everybody going to me, a counter proposal was made for having FoC Prime host this respectively for T.A.C.T. Or since they want to have T.A.C.T hosted again, then FoC Prime was the candidate this time. With FoC Prime having been AFK during the setting up process and us trying to meet the deadline before 4 p.m. Eastern time frame, the ball came back into my court in order to try and hurry this along, so I just pitched my services again in order to respectively go and host the session for our favor here. That way we can continue with the match with the least amount of lag present, and then I'd go on ahead and either invite Hotshot or FoC Prime to take said person's place for the 5th person that would happen for our team. Because if FoC Prime's AFK, then I go on ahead and invite Hotshot, since Hotshot came in or came online at around Capture the Flag's closure, but was just not on the video game yet. And so I went on ahead and shot him a thing as like, hey, I might need you on the video game beforehand, or before we start into Conquest, however this may go. I originally want to have Hotshot in for Capture the Flag, if any, but I mean, beggars cannot be choosers, and so the time frame and the window for Capture the Flag had respectively passed. And so if there's a chance to have him in another game mode where he can play to his strengths, then I will also try to utilize that pending advantage in our favor for however impact it may have with the team and how he may work with the team. As FoC Prime came back and took the invite before Hotshot did, then I went on ahead and just settled upon FoC Prime, and then go into probably having Hotshot later on down the road for Team Deathmatch, depending upon how the match would go. And so the 5 versus 5 did continue into Conquest mode. This was on Corrosion, which was also A.c.W's map pick for this potentially. On that one, the match was set very early in our favor, as we were able to kickstart the lead and systematically sustain a double cap method throughout the totality of the game. There was a point where momentum did drop in 2 forms. It dropped because of a lag out that did happen between 1 or 2 people, one from each team, which did then subsequently lead to us having a 4 versus 4 until said people can load back into the game mode. And then 2 is when I felt that my team was being too lax in the lead as it was for half of the game mode, because I could feel in the voice when when one of my friends had said that, "Oh wow, we actually have the lead right now." Like, yeah, we do. I don't know why you're surprised about that. We should try and have confidence in what we're doing right now, and I want to keep it that way. That way we can successfully win the game mode, because it feels smooth, and that's how I want to keep it. It's not difficult for what we're doing right now. But in terms of that lax feeling settling in, it suddenly got difficult because the communications and coordination for A.C.W were beginning to escalate. And in terms of them escalating, it led to the match getting harder. And the buddy system played very heavily into their advantage the longer the match went on, because they all started coming in twos rather than individually, where it would be easier to pick them off. They instead were picking us off. That's playing it smart. And then momentum began slowly flooding right into their favor, and we ended up losing the lead to a tie, and then they just passed us altogether and was able to successfully win Conquest mode. Yeah, and finally, Team Deathmatch. Now, for Team Deathmatch's successive run, there's more than one way to look at the conclusion of Team Deathmatch. And I have to be careful about how it is that I'm trying to word this accordingly, because the session that you've seen and the viewer that you have seen was actually the second successful team deathmatch, which was the redo of the original team deathmatch. And so the original team deathmatch I will explain first before I explain what had happened in the mess that was the third team deathmatch to be. So starting into the original team deathmatch, which was on their host, they did one of their nat types was able to successfully stabilize, which was on Commando's host. This was a 40-50 capped off team deathmatch for about 15-20 minutes. This was set to Bowles, Commando's host for A.c.W. As the match loaded in, connection issues were pending as it was laggy for a number of people involved on both ends, between DCW, Galvatron, and Stefan pointing this out that it was laggy, and the majority of my team pointing this out that it was a very highly unstable connection, but this match somehow did go on ahead. Now, there are 4 players that did come in for both teams, as listed and as I will list here presently. There was 5, but Fininja and Cizex both were not able to load into the match, and so this was reduced from a 5 versus 5 down to a 4 versus 4. And because this was the finishing point of the clan battle, rather than restarting this as we did get this going and setting into another host, we decided to just go on ahead and finish it here and play as best as we are able to. As Team Deathmatch went ahead, there was a situation that did arise that led to a huge series of arguments and differences in perspective because of what it is that had happened here. And it was that one of their players, the Masky individual, had used Fire Blast during the majority of the Team Deathmatch session, as this was brought to attention by Chaos Shadow, Hotshot, Atlas Warrior, the attack Sideswipe, and Grimwave. And so T.A.C.T went on ahead and challenged for the DQ thing. I pressed for the clan battle to just go on ahead and finish, and then we will worry about that end result once we get to the conclusion of Team Deathmatch, because I don't want the whole Team Deathmatch to just stop all of a sudden and nothing is complete. The Team Deathmatch portion is not complete from start to finish, and then we can review everything that's happened here at the end of this once the match finishes. Another one of my dudes that went on ahead and lagged out in the middle of the team deathmatch portion, and so this went ahead and finished as a 3 versus 4. However, that would ensue. The score, I believe, was 40 to 23 or something to that effect. When we got back to the lobby, I went on ahead and reviewed the footage, and I brought this to I brought this to A.C.W's attention about what it is that I had seen, and as I went back in order to review the footage about what had happened with the difference in perspective and when the fire blast thing did occur. And so Commando had challenged as to when this had occurred. There were a total of about 3 or 4 instances when the fire blast was detected. I didn't see the 3 that were mentioned, but the 4th one I did see, as it did subsequently affect myself, and it was affecting my ability in order to either transform or to respond appropriately to the changing situations that were happening around me. Anyway, what I did next, in response to the footage that was seen and that was also explained, I went on ahead and had placed a disqualification, and it called for a disqualification to be placed upon Team Deathmatch. And so the game mode would be complete, the disqualification would be in full at that time, and the clan battle at this time could conclude respectfully at a 1 versus 1. This was challenged as it was brought to my attention that the outline for the whole clan battle in this regard did not state about using all these things and in using items or in Fire Blast or Gear Shredder, as in the original outline that was stated in the clan battle that was set 2 weeks ago and redone over into today. This all was outlined. Now, now, a logical misunderstanding that may come out of this is of 1 or 2 pretenses. Point 1. As the clan leadership is both shared, and I did thoroughly explain this to the 1 or 2. I know I did thoroughly explain the whole clan battle outline and etiquette once upon a time to Ninja in order to try and appropriately set this all together and how I wanted the clan battle to go and how it can respectively go for both times, and the outline was stated. Now, whether or not the whole element of details was stated all the way to Commando, or if it was all received, then that I don't know. In addition to this, the maskly individual that had supposedly broken the rules. Now, I know that he's not new to the clan, so that's not an understanding argument that I need to go into. An argument that can be brought up, and this is point 2, is the facet of whether or not he was aware of the rule outlines that were in place for the clan battle, or if it was thoroughly explained as to what you can or cannot do. That I also don't know. And the more it dawned on me about those particular elements of communications, the more that me and Commando had unfortunately argued at that time in the afternoon, it didn't dawn on me that it could have been one of those 2 particular elements. Or even in the offsetting that may happen in point 3, there is also a chance that I probably did lack in my understanding in possibly restating the rules all over again and restating everything rather than having everything be systematically implied as to what was once upon a time, and then a week later you do still know of everything that is generally in tow for the basic clan battle, in there being a possible Gear Shredder, no possible Gear Shredder, no Fire Blast, no Chaos Rift Combustor, no item pickups of any sort, the 1 medic allotted to each team, and the works, as it generally would, as it would be an understanding, verbally binding contract between both clans pending at said time. There is also that chance that that could fall back on me in having not have been completely thorough in that, and possibly assuming. And that is also understandable. And again, these factors I did not realize until the arguing did ensue unnecessarily from the varying perspectives that were in this, as Sideswipe and Death Guns were trying to explain to me the difference in opinion, and had strongly wanted me to take back my calling upon placing a disqualification on to A.C.W for the team deathmatch conclusion. Now, borrowing the unnecessary input of he who will not be mentioned, I did go on ahead and reverse my decision of placing the disqualification so that way we could respectfully have a do-over of Team Deathmatch. Now, considering the time placing here was beyond 4 p.m., and this is beyond the time grace period for everybody that can cordially be online in order to do team deathmatch within a reasonable time, considering the difference in time zones. That's why I had urged originally to try to do this another day where it can be respecting of a lot of people's times that were going on in the clan battle. But the pushing of elements in this clan battle for trying to bring team deathmatches general cerebral thought to a close could not be, and so unfortunately the time zones had to persist and insist on an inconvenience so that way we could respectfully conclude the team deathmatch portion and just restart team deathmatch overall. Here with a lot of they had their basic 4 and we had our basic 4, so this would be reduced down to a 4 versus 4 in order to redo the clan battle in tow. And while a lot of people from my camp and the one from theirs was against trying to redo the team deathmatch portion, I did go on ahead and wish to comply because I honestly did not want there to be any type of drama or a, a misunderstanding that would falter a really good game that could potentially be played and had for both teams. And they're in a position where they can wholeheartedly pull this out of the hat and win it. So rather than having the whole thing be dampered upon by a disqualification that came off of a misconstrued series of events from numerous different perspectives, it just makes more sense to just redo the session, their host, our map pick again, and just go right back into it and just do this again. I mean, pencils have erasers for a reason. The problem that ensued with this from my end was because the time zones differing yet again, with the total time frame for the clan battle now going into about 2.5 hours. All the people that I would necessarily want to have for this part of the clan battle are not on, or if they are just getting on, they are now not available, and so the inconveniences continue to stack against my better judgment. And so, thankfully, out of nowhere, I have the one in particular thing, so I went on ahead and sent the invite to 2 or 3 people in order to join, and the one in particular went on ahead and joined, and this was for Joey 14,000 power. Now, yes, I am aware of the previous engagement in which Joseph was in tax tenure concerning the ROK debacle. However, said individual went on ahead and turned on his mic. I explained to him exactly what's going on here and what it is I need him for, because I just need his time for 20 minutes at a time in order to explain the general details of the team deathmatch portion that had just passed, and we can go on ahead and settle in. While there were other names that I did specifically want in this match, again, beggars cannot be choosers, and so whoever it is that I get is who I get, and I don't get upset. Rather than get mad, I get glad, if that makes any sense for the reference at this time. Anyway, the point is keeping the focus on fun, and that's where I want to try and keep it at, because amidst all of the drama that would continue to go here, that's where I still want to try and keep this at. And so I want to try and see if we can make this a strong finish. We went on ahead, restated the ruling outline for everything that was to comply for the clan battle here, as everybody here could now be brought in the loop if they weren't already brought in the loop or brought up to date on what the clan battle outline for this clan battle was to be and how it was to be. That way when we redo the team deathmatch portion, we are all fully aware of what can or cannot be used. And right as soon as we start into this thing for the team deathmatches redo, Stefan Lee goes on ahead and breaks the rules by not only using the Fire Blast as was indicated to not use, which would strike a disqualification, but to then use all of the items in the match session in order to gain a rather unfair advantage. Now, yes, this makes a lot of people angry unnecessarily, because we just went through the entire process of explaining why all these things were not to be allowed in the clan battle. and yet you have this one individual that insinuates pure idiocy in order to challenge the layout that was just structurally given and enforced for the clan battle that you are now fighting. What logical sense does that make? Is what I ask myself. The clan battle continued, and it was placed in the chat that the DQ would just be placed or focused on that after the fact. Atlas Warrior did want to go on ahead and try to use items as well, but I told him before you pick that up, do not pick that up. Just because that one person broke the rule, that does not mean you have to break the rule. We just play this from start to finish, just like how we always do, like how both of our teams always do, and how we are trying to do. Don't let one person's ignorant lack of judgment stop you from wholeheartedly making a difference to represent your clan. And so the match continued, and here me, Shadow, Joey, and Warrior would all work together in order to try and make the impossible possible, as Team Deathmatch did continue, and it did structurally hold in our favor for a decent amount of time until Stefan Lee and Death Guns' combinations were able to successfully override ours. And it ended in a total of 50 to 46, I believe. It's just so needlessly frustrating how that match ended. It's so unnecessary of ignorance from one player to ruin and sabotage such a great opportunity for their clan to succeed. The whole success of that clan was botched in a key moment where their teamwork successfully could have earned them the win justfully. And instead of this happening, this was all thrown out the window by one individual that sought to prove something that could have been proved through working with his team rather than working against his team. And it cost them the match. Because I'm not gonna lie. They were honestly in a position where they could have wholeheartedly defeated T.A.C.T. Just pulling 3 random players out of my butt in order to try and continuously make this up on the fly. They were wholeheartedly in a position where they could have thoroughly defeated T.A.C.T. And it would have appropriately taken advantage of me reversing the decision I did in taking back the disqualification. But rather, what had to happen here is in reversing my decision, I then had to unfortunately reinstate it. And so, in the aftermath of all of this and where we are at right now, let me try and hit a reset button here. Because that's why I took the liberty here in trying to sit down, because there's a long explanation of this clan battle to explain from start to finish, as we are at right now, and we are nearly finished, but we are not there just yet. And so, I took some time in order to sit and talk with a couple of the clan members there, because I took some time talking with the Alpha Trion individual and talking with Death Guns about how this was to go. And I stood, and I at that point, the frustration between Stefan Lee and Commando reached a head, and Commando went on ahead and signed off. Stefan Lee, I don't know whether or not he gave a damn or not, but I took some time in order to sit here and talk with those two, since those two were the only 2 that were left at that point, and try to give them an explanation for how everything here has come to pass. I don't hold it against them for taking an interest in wanting to try and recruit Stefan Lee and give him a chance in the clan battle. I myself made that same effort once upon a time in order to give him a chance. I will not say that it was a mistake. I want to make this clear that it is not a mistake to give a fool like him a chance. because there is always a chance to look beyond the foolishness and you can see a good-natured individual of some sort. There's no crime in trying to see the good in people. That's one of the decent things about us that try to give us a little bit of humanly characteristics, you know? And so both clans were looking at me and they were wondering, okay, what happens now? And so I told them, what happens is we sit here, we laugh, we chuckle, have a good laugh about the clan battle. We shake hands, and we put it behind us. Because the clan battle itself doesn't have to be taken so overly seriously to where it affects good relations. The events of a clan battle will generally go as they will. Things happen. Crap does happen in a clan battle, whether or not it is favorable or liked upon or frowned upon. Things can happen. But as long as there is order or some type of structure or a guiding light in a sense, then nothing is really wrong at the end of the day, and there's no harm, there's no excessive cause of alarm or concern, or for any type of concern. None of that's needed. A good game was sought here today, and barring the huge dramatic road that we did end up traveling down, we did still end up at a very nicely fought clan battle between two good clans here. One that's been around, and one that's just now getting ready to come back around. Why mess up a good thing with drama? It wouldn't work. The whole general backstory of A.c.W. has been riddled with too much drama to count. But the new faces that are trying to keep a good thing going, they don't need that. And although we did seek to go completely the opposite direction in trying to have a drama-free, full-fledged clan battle, oh boy, we instead got the whole ride, old boy. It ended up pulling out all the stops emotionally and combatively. And, well, that ride was there. And so where we move on from here is that, first of all, good freaking game. That was definitely a very great game, well fought by both sides. Momentum shifted back and forth all day, every day. And amidst having a good game fought, I do wish for T.A.C.T and A.c.W. to have another clan battle in the future. That way we can do this right. And as Death Guns put it, we can see more prosperity from the clan battling scene grow between both clans. And on that note, I do wish to leave us with a good note. By all means, you guys, good game. And you guys have a good evening. This is Rodimus Prime out. And as always, to all our